How's it going? So, if you guys haven't guessed it already, this is the new project truck. But why did I choose this truck? Why this specific two-tone brown diesel standard four-wheel drive 1986 Ford F-250? Well, I'll be honest with you. That's a story I have been considering not telling you guys. It's a project that I've considered at great lengths to just keep for myself. But if I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to be truthful on this channel, then I need to explain the backstory of this truck. Well, more specifically, a truck exactly like this. To tell that story, we're gonna have to go back, way back, to like the early 90s back. And yes, I know I just dated myself. Let me introduce you to somebody. My dad, John Reeder. All right, so I was fortunate enough at an early age. I had three men in my life who helped mold me and create the man that I am today, right? That was my dad, my grandfather, and my Uncle John. Now, my dad was a lover of anything mechanical. If it had an engine, or if somebody had took the time to craft it, he wanted to hear the full story. And that imprinted on me at a very, very early age. Growing up in Southern Ontario, Dad and I would often go to car shows like Oshawa's Autorama, I believe is what it's called, or other show and shines that my hometown of Bowmanville, Ontario would throw when it threw like its Apple Festival or its Maple Festival, stuff like that. When I hit the age of 12, there were a lot of teachers' union strikes. That led Dad and I to do a lot of fishing together and getting a ton of road miles in his truck. I got to learn a lot about my dad that I wouldn't have learned otherwise. I got to learn how important family was to him, how important hard work is in developing a man and in developing a family. And most importantly, I got to create that bond with my father that I wouldn't have gotten any other way. Shortly after, it was around this time that we found out that my dad had cancer, lung cancer to be specific. And me not being in school led me to going to a lot of his appointments with him. And every time we would go to his appointments, we always drove by the same 1948 Ford pickup truck sitting in this field. And he always said the exact same thing at the exact same time, at the exact same spot. Son, when I'm done fighting this battle, we're going to build that truck. Well, time took its course and cancer took my dad. And I never got to build that 48 Ford with my dad. But I had hoped that the truck that we were making all those miles in, that we were going fishing in, I hoped, as a 14-year-old boy at that time, that my dad's last truck would be my first truck. That never happened. Once again, time or fate, whatever you want to call it, took its toll and ran its course, and that truck had to be sold. And at that point, the 2-decade search to find a truck that was the same body style as my father's began. Over the course of 20 years, I would get really close to pulling the trigger on purchasing a truck of the same body style, because I could always paint it the same. But due to condition or cost, it never happened. Until one day in 2017, when my then girlfriend, now wife, and I were helping her aunt clean a house, specifically the house she was moving out of. We sat there and she's like, Chris, I need you to go out back. There's an old farm truck. I need you to bring it up front. It's going to get scrapped. I looked at it purely as another task that needed to be done. Went out, looked at the grill, saw it was a Ford. Hopped in, put the key in the ignition, truck rolled over 3 or 4 times, and then quite promptly evicted every mosquito and insect for a quarter mile. Once the smoke cleared, I got out, I took a step back, and time came running back. Not just the sight of the truck, the smell, the laughs, the memories, and the miles all came running back. I then ran inside and told the owner, I'm like, listen, this is a story. I will not let you scrap this truck, because it's not just the same body style. It's the same color. It's all the same options. And I always remember my father saying, this truck is everything I wanted, except I wish it was standard and a diesel. And the truck that I now own, it's the same color, it's the same options, it's a standard, and it's a diesel. So, as far as I'm concerned, this was my dad's last truck. So, what am I going to do with this truck? Well, I can tell you one thing, I'm not going to rush the build. But I'm also not going to drag my feet. My father was a truck driver, like I had mentioned. And he hauled everything from lumber to cattle to heavy equipment, paper, you name it. And I never got to build that 48 Ford with Dad. But I'm going to build this truck for Dad. So the stock motor that's in this, it's, like I said, it's a diesel. It has a Banks turbo. But there's a lot of cylinder leak, or blow by, whatever you want to call it. So a lot of that turbo pressure is just getting blown right out the tailpipe. It rides like you're on a waterbed, and it just, it leaves a lot to be desired. The floorboards are good. However, cab corners need to be replaced. The box, as you can see, leaves much to be desired. It has natural speed holes. So I'm going to have to get a new box and source that. Quarter panels, I'm more than likely going to buy remanufactured ones from LMC Truck and turn these ones into wall art. But this thing's going to be getting a 12 valve and either a 10 or a 13 speed transmission. Air ride suspension. And then we're going to make some memories with my boys. I know this hasn't been the usual video that I do for you guys, But this video and this video series isn't for you. I hope you can appreciate that. If you want to see this build, like and subscribe. Cheers.